Hey, thanks for coming on and giving me yay. Thanks for joining me. Really, this is the first time that I've done this live, and so I'm trying out the equipment. Obviously, there were some things going on. And let me ask you this, guys. Justin, and is it Javon? I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. Is the sound, do you getting a hissing sound behind that? Because usually that's what happens with the equipment that I've got. And is it pretty clear? Let me know that. So what happened last night? Thanks for taking a look at that and watching the video anyway, because I know that there was some old news. Good, thank you. As long as it's manageable and you guys aren't too worried about that little hissing sound behind it, I'm going to try to fix that, and I just don't know how right away. But I thought it was important to come online and talk about the things that actually caused or were the factors that led to last night into this morning the ruckus that was the markets. You can take a look at this. This is the technical analysis live on CoinMarketCap on TradingView. And you can see I've got this on half hour. And as of about 9:30, this was where we were. If you can see this, my cursor right here, we were in right there. At 9:30, we were sinking down past $50,000. Right as the markets opened, though, we actually had 2.5 hours of green candles. What that told me is that the ETFs weren't selling, and come to find out that was actually correct. It was Van Eck, BlackRock, Fidelity. I don't think any of them were actually selling the Bitcoin that they had, so they were holding pat. And as I take a look at the news before the markets opened, Bitcoin.com news talked about the leveraged positions. And if you know anything about what's been going on in the Japanese markets, because the Japanese yen has been weakening, and so international traders have been doing what they call a carry trade, meaning that they're borrowing the Japanese yen at basically zero interest, taking the money that they're borrowing and then going and buying treasury bonds, which have a higher yield than the interest that they would be paying for the Japanese loans that they took out. So effectively, they're making a profit simply by holding that loan. Not only were they doing that, but they were also taking that money and investing it in treasuries on margin. So not only were they borrowing money from the Japanese banks, let's make the numbers easy. You see, you borrow $1,000 from a Japanese bank at 1% interest, and then you go and buy treasuries with that. Well, they allow you to do that on a 2-to-1 margin, meaning you can buy $2,000 worth of treasury bonds with that $1,000 that you borrowed, and you're getting 4 to 5% yield on that $2,000. So easy profit as long as everything's going well. Well, over the weekend, Japan decided to raise their interest rates, which made the yen stronger because it made their treasuries in Japan more attractive to more investors. So what happened was all of a sudden, the market goes down for the U.S. treasuries, and they're doubling their losses because they're on margin, and they have to pay back a stronger yen. But that was the first domino. Then CNBC News comes out, and they're talking about how the Dow is tumbling 1,000 points. Well, that has to do with the margin calls that are happening, because not only were they buying treasuries with this borrowed money from Japan, but they're also buying equities. And so as the margin calls are coming from Japan, they're going to have to sell the stock on the Dow and the S&P. Down go the markets, which has led a number of people, and I talked about this on my video that I released today, was there's actually some scrutiny about the fact that the Fed didn't lower interest rates. Bank of Canada is lowering interest rates. ECB is lowering their interest rates. So they're easing rates across the world, trying to kickstart a sluggish economy. Well, after the markets opened this morning, there are certainly more calls for the Fed to come back from vacation and implement an emergency rate cut. As some are saying, even to the tune of 1.5%, at least over 2 different cuts by the end of September. That would be like 0.75 basis or 75 basis points right now, and then 75 basis points in September. Well, what does that mean for Bitcoin? What that means is that the money printer is going to go burr again, and they're going to debase the currency to try to continue to kick the can down the road as far as keeping the economy running. Even though it's running on leverage, it's really running on fumes. But what that means is that there's going to be more dollars in the M2 money supply, which is going to cause even more inflation, which is going to cause hard assets like gold and Bitcoin to increase in price. So as far as the dip is concerned, not financial advice, but I'm looking for an opportunity to continue to put more than just my DCA into Bitcoin. But that's just my personal, that's what I'm doing. And I'm not telling you that that's what you should do, because I'm certainly not an expert, but that's where I'm headed right now. Justin says, I thought it was a good deal at 59 yesterday, and then it was 49 come this morning. Listen, I'm with you, because I made some purchases yesterday as well. I'm thinking, these are cheap sats, and boom, it goes down another 15%. I said, oh, I didn't know you're going to put a blue light special on there as well. So I'm in the same boat. Believe me, it's not an uncommon thing to have happen. On a side note, my conspiracy theory brain kind of went off here, and suddenly I'm thinking, Trump makes a pro-Bitcoin statement, says he wants to keep the 200,000 Bitcoin that are currently in custody of the U.S. government. And not only does the Democratic administration choose to move some of those coins, but now a week later, going from nearly $70,000 when he made that announcement down to sub 50 this morning. Is there anything to that? Let me know if I'm way off base here, or if my ears are right. I have somebody that's coming into my house right now, not knowing that I am live on YouTube, so I don't want to ignore them, but I'm going to briefly, which means that I'm going to have to shorten this cast. So let me finish up with a little bit of here's what I was talking about earlier. BlackRock, Fidelity, Grayscale, and MicroStrategy. Nope, haven't sold. That tells me that we're in good shape being the hodler. Nothing to see here. Just turn off the news, go touch some grass, enjoy the sunshine if you're near where I am, because I still think, especially if they're considering an emergency rate cut, that's going to be good for risk on assets. And as it stands right now, Bitcoin is still considered a risk on asset. So I think that this dip is going to be short-lived. But we can all hope it can go anywhere. But I think it's going to be more short-lived, especially considering the fact that there's a lot of pressure right now to lower those rates in order to re-kickstart the economy, which is going to put less selling pressure on the equities and bonds here in the United States, and therefore globally as well. So I'm going to cut this short. I hope I've answered some questions. I hope I've gone over some of the news that I knew I was going to have to go over when I published the Bitcoin news update this morning. Thanks for joining me. Mitch, thank you. I do need more subs, but I got to count on you guys to help me out. Share the videos, share the live streams, and share the channel so that more people can join our little community here that we talk about Bitcoin. Hey, look for some Bitcoin education. I plan on doing that. Specifically, my next video is going to be what is money and what is the history of the dollar. So if you have some people that are going to be interested in answering the question, well, what is Bitcoin worth? And I usually answer, well, what is the dollar? Why does the dollar have value? And we can actually go back on the history of the dollar and see why the dollar should not be backed by Bitcoin. There's a teaser for you. That should be coming up before the end of this month. I'm going to cut it short. I've got family in the house, but thanks you guys for joining me, and I will at least see you next Sunday night with the Bitcoin news update. Thanks for joining me.